the Southern Ocean. This is sailing's holy grail. Our Volvo ocean race fleet is about to experience an almighty test. Leg 5 is a 12,500-mile journey from Qingdao in China to Rio. And after 18 days at sea, the finish line in Brazil is 7,000 miles away. The longest leg in the history of the race has already punished our 5 boats, but what lies ahead could be worse. At the front of the pack, it's a shootout between Puma's Il Mostro and Ericsson 4. On board Puma, skipper Ken Reid is still seeking his first leg win. With more points available on this leg than any other, he knows being first to Rio will make them real contenders. Ericsson 4 are the overall race leaders, and skipper Torben Grael is urging his men towards Rio, his home city. Victory on this leg would mean fulfilling a dream. Chasing the leading pair is Ericsson 3. With race veteran Magnus Olsson calling the shots, this crew must start winning legs quickly if they're to have any hope of being on the podium in St. Petersburg in June. Behind them comes Telefonica Blue. Bauer Becking is competing in his 6th round-the-world race and is well aware of the perils of the Southern Ocean. His boat Movistar started to take on water near Cape Horn in the last race and had to suspend racing. Now, just 5.5 points behind the leaders in 2nd on leaving Qingdao, Becking is hanging on to the coattails of those ahead of him as the fleet plunges south. Bringing up the rear, debutant skipper Ian Walker on Green Dragon. For the Irish-Chinese entry, the race so far has been brutal. Who knows just what the notorious Southern Ocean now has in store? Day 18, and our fleet is approaching the first scoring gate on the leg at 36 degrees south. Ericsson 4, the overall race leaders, are in front once again.
We've got a bit of breeze coming up, so pays to go up and check everything out, make sure we're not going to have any little surprises. Oh, here we are, about 100 feet off the deck. Absolutely beautiful conditions. Doing a bit of a rig check, checking out all our fittings. Certainly there's only 10 knots of wind and we're probably doing 13 or 14 knots of boat speed, trimmed to perfection. This is probably the last chance I'll get to look at the rig before we get back into the Atlantic. Pays to have a good look around. We've got Puma and Ericsson 3 only 20 miles away, just on the horizon there. We expect to meet up with them again pretty soon, so no one's too concerned about it. So didn't find any majors up there, a few little taping jobs, but nothing too scary. I think we're okay for another hiding.
Torben Grael is under intense pressure from 2 skippers, hungry for points and eager to prevent him from extending the gap at the top of the leaderboard. Both are less than 10 miles behind. On sister ship Ericsson 3 is Magnus Olsson and his young navigator Axel Magdahl. And joining them in the hunt is Puma's Il Mostro, skippered by Ken Reid. But it's Ericsson 4 who crossed the scoring gate first, and by doing so gained 4 more points. Grabbing 2nd and 3.5 points is Olsson on Ericsson 3. Ken Reid on Il Mostro crosses 3rd to earn 3 points. Torben Grael's lead over Bauer Becking is now a healthy 8.5 points. and Becking is looking over his shoulder as Ken Reid is just half a point behind in third. There's a 12-point gap between Reid and Ian Walker on Green Dragon in fourth. Trailing the leaders by 21.5 points, Magnus Olsson on Ericsson 3 sanctions an all-or-nothing gamble. Young navigator Axel Magdal is convinced he's found a quicker route to Cape Horn, and instead of following the pack south, they head north to pursue stronger winds.
We're gonna head straight for the center of a quite aggressive low, sail through his front and turn 90 degrees right when we hit that low and head for the first ice waypoint. In this band of clouds here is steady 30 knots breeze. Right now we have 20 knots breeze and we're sailing 90 through to get in there. And this here is the center of the low, and you see this whole area is predicted to have more than 30 knots breeze, so it's going to be full on for us. I'm handling this right now. It's nothing, I mean, the strategy has been chosen, so it's only refinement we need to do right now. You see the barometer has been dropping really steadily since then, and it's going to drop a lot more. So I guess in 4 hours, get into this band of clouds here, then we're going to be into 30 plus knots for probably 8 hours or so. We're going to be close to the leaders, or if we're lucky, a little bit ahead.
The impending hostility of the Southern Ocean brings safety concerns, both above and below deck.
El Telefónica Azul tiene un baño aquí dentro que, bueno, primero este es el que yo usaría en segundo lugar si el tiempo está mal, porque si el tiempo está bueno en popa, al aire es donde mejor se está y más cómodo. Pero bueno, ya cuando está malo y es peligroso ir a la popa y nos mojamos mucho, venimos aquí. Nos sentamos. Nos sentamos, yo en particular utilizo esta ladriza la mayor, que si la dejo en medio, imagínate cómo sale. Así que la ponemos aquí y yo le hago un atadito aquí a esta polea por seguridad. Lo que tenemos que hacer aquí ya cuando terminas la operación, ya tenemos agua, tal, terminamos la operación y con esta bomba de aquí, vuelvo a salir, un poco complicado. Tenemos que tener mucho cuidado, nunca tirar papeles en los baños de los barcos, porque si no se tupen y es un follón. Este tema de ladriza es un tema muy de seguridad, porque si desde allá desde cubierta tiraran un rizo o hicieran alguna maniobra con ladriza a la mayor, ya te digo, es muy peligroso. Entonces siempre amarrarla aquí. Y luego para cuando hay mucha mar de ceñida, claro, y a la operación que esta la haríamos, imagínate, pues uno haciendo sus necesidades con el casco puesto, porque aquí está el palo, ¿no? Y los golpes que te da con el palo son mortales. Así que bueno, esta es la forma de utilizar el baño. Yo te digo, segunda opción, siempre que está bueno, a la popa, es lo que recomiendo.
Leg 5 is unique. At no other time during the race will the fleet be so far from land. Up ahead, the leading boat is fully equipped for every eventuality.
A lot of it's mounted on the back of the boat. For particularly a man overboard incident, we have 2 John Boy modules, which are kind of like a little mini life raft type thing for any potential man overboard. And they also have a strobe light and EPIRB and so on them, and a lifting strop, so that in the event that someone does fall overboard, they can, with a bit of luck, find that John Boy module and climb into it and get hauled back on board when we find them. In addition to that, we have the traditional horseshoe ring, and attached to that is also a strobe light and also a large orange smoke canister. Obviously the orange smoke works well during the day and the strobe light at night. Also on the back of the boat, we have 2 12-man life rafts.
Here we go.
I actually had some personal experience during the last race of getting into one during the transatlantic leg, when we had to abandoned movie star. Yeah, let's hope we don't have to get into one. Perhaps the most important safety item which we use pretty much every day when we're sailing is the harness with a tether. Anytime we do any sort of manoeuvre in rough weather, we'll encourage everyone to clip on. The last thing you want to do is send someone over the side.
As the race for Cape Horn continues, nobody is further south than Telefonica Blue. Skipper Bauer Becking is going head-to-head with the elements.
Yeah, pretty windy reaching yesterday, with a lot of water over the deck, and before this ripped, all the water was collecting in here, and it got very full and wasn't draining quick enough. And I think when we put the bow up to go a bit more upwind, we slammed through a few waves, and it was all a bit too much for the main, and yeah, she split. It's a major inconvenience for us.
It's just been laminated, what means that the mylar film is not attached to the fibers, so it keeps the strength of the sail. So we've actually been sailing for a long time with a reef and waiting that the conditions have been slowing down. Now we just bite the bullet, so we took another reef in and getting that made so flat on the deck, and the guy's trying to fix it, but it's not very easy because there's no surface actually to stick new material on. I think in the end that will do it. Now, tight.
Telefonica Blue has an ally in the south, Ian Walker on Green Dragon.
Swimming hat. Looks like we're going to need it.
For the debutante, these are unfamiliar surroundings.
Pretty hard going for us, so I guess it's a long leg. The boat's still in perfect working order. The lads are quite fresh. We're looking forward to the Southern Ocean. Not as much as I'm looking forward to having done it and arriving in Rio. We've had a pretty brutal day today. Wave. And well, we just charge on, you know. Keep doing the best we can.
The fleet is bracing itself for the worst of the Southern Ocean. Will Ericsson 3's extraordinary gamble pay off? Will the Southern Ocean live up to its infamous reputation? Our 5 boats are halfway through leg 5. Rio is 6,000 miles in the distance. Ahead lies Cape Horn and some potentially catastrophic weather. The McDowell-Olsen master plan on Ericsson 3 is working. Their bold decision-making at the scoring gate has seen them leap into the lead, more than 100 miles ahead of Puma's Il Mostro and Ericsson 4. Green Dragon and Telefonica Blue plough on in the south. For Bauer Becking, bringing up the rear, the war of attrition continues. They break a forestay, the piece of rigging holding up the mast, and see one of their sails plunge into the water.
I need a hector or something. This we can pull it.
It's broken. Little piece of steel. G'day Campbell, we've broken the forestay.
Skipper and shore manager have a huge decision to make. Head for land or plough on, knowing heavy seas lie ahead.
And there is an airport over there, is there? So it's about 120 miles away. The Blackbird has arrived in Rio, so we can take that part, but it means still like we have to take it from there, fly it over to New Zealand, and then land into the Chatham Islands, go for anchor there, so they might be losing probably 36 to 48 hours at least. So it's a question of just carry on. That's just the thing we have to make a decision.
Partido navegando con 13-14 nudos, con el J1, ciñendo un pequeño pantocazo y se ha roto el stay. Estamos viendo ahora a ver qué soluciones puede ser. No sé. No tenemos repuesto esta pieza, así que va a estar complicado.
300 miles ahead, the leaders Ericsson 3 continue to lead the fleet towards Cape Horn. Keeping the world updated on their progress via video footage, emails, radio broadcasts and photographs is Gustaf Morin. The addition of a media crew member to each boat is a first in the Volvo Ocean Race. Unable to help the rest of the crew in sailing the boat, Morin gives us an insight into his day.
So the media person's job is not only about media. It's sponging a few hours a day, bailing, trying to keep the boat clean. Every corner you can find, you hunt the water down. So, media guy is also the one who makes almost all the food on board. You know, you want to help with everything you can help with. Water, keeping clean, making food. Since you can't help with sailing, you also want to provide with something to make the boat go forward. And this can be a messy place. The other night we were going through a low pressure and I was trying to make dinner here. And you pick this one up and you try to wash it and you're taking food into the boils and pouring water into it. It's just a big mess and it's a big risk to burn yourself. And once you're up here and you go down there, it's just madness. But you get used to it though. All right, ready.
Now this is the fun part of the job. This is actually a lot of fun. See if I can take something cool from behind as well. This is the trickiest part of all. Always trying to keep the lens clean from the water. I see you've got some problems there as well. Just an hour's work on deck, and now I'm going down and show you what I'm doing when I'm down below.
So I'm not always running around on deck to take pictures. I also have this media desk to help me, and I have 5 different cameras on board. In the end of the day, I'm sitting here at the media station, squeezing in between all the boxes and stuff on my beanbag and editing everything, writing, fixing the pictures, sending everything off. That's actually a lot of work, a few hours every day to do that. But this is the end of the day.
At the back of the fleet, Bauer Becking is about to take a gamble.
So for the time being, we're carrying on.
Everything's secured. We've got a jury rig set up and we're sort of back on the road. Our best options have changed though, because our sail plan's very different now. So it looks like the best option for us is probably not to tack north and wait for the shift to come to us.
Still the furthest south, Telefonica Blue is losing ground rapidly. Green Dragon seize their opportunity and leave them floundering. In the north, Puma and Ericsson 4 are side by side in the pursuit of the leaders, who are over 100 miles ahead of them in the distance.
So the wonderful weather down here in the Southern Ocean has taken a bizarre twist, and we're actually headed north for about a day, almost 2 days after going through the scoring gate in New Zealand. Now we find ourselves well up north in the outskirts of a low pressure system, well to the north of the ice gate, of the gate that was put there to protect us from the ice, and really kind of bypassing that first ice gate and heading directly for the second ice gate. The guys who have been down here in the Southern Ocean a lot think it's completely bizarre. They're used to diving down south and getting low and getting into the lows down there. Here we did was head directly north to get into a low, and so we're reaching along, actually making great time, finally 20 knots, heading straight for the barn, actually heading towards Rio. So I'd say the mood on board, besides people being a little damp and maybe a little chilly, it's not that bad, and everybody's just like to start spitting out the miles. Heading to Cape Horn, baby. Here we go.
50 miles ahead of Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro is Ericsson 4 in second. On board, a man who still bears the mental scars of a horrifying incident in these waters 7 years ago.
In the middle of the night, a little bit further south than here, and we had a ice steering. We had a big snow squall came through, it started blowing an awful lot of breeze. I think it was about just under 50 knots. Had a small chute on and got a big bit of a lift. Then next minute had a big wave hit the bow and blew the bow away. Now got the rudder in white water and hit a massive Chinese at high speed. We're doing 27 knots at the time and ended up ripping the rig out. Not very good. I was underwater, standing right here, holding, crouching down as low as I could get, holding onto the bottom of the steering pedestal after I'd ripped the wheel, the sprocket out of the wheel right out, trying to come out of it. Luckily we had all the guys still on board. It was a bit of a concern at the time, and when we came back upright we had no rig, so which is probably just as well, because we had lots and lots of water going down our twin hatch. We had one guy just getting absolutely drenched in his bunk. We had lots of water in the boat, about a metre deep, right through. We weren't pinned for that long, but if the rig hadn't come out, we could have been in a lot of trouble. Once the boat had come upright, had to cut away the rig pretty quickly because it was just seesawing its way up and down the side of the hull there, and we were worried about it dropping down and then punching a hole, so we just cut it away as fast as we could. Let it go. Unfortunately, we still had the boom and the stump, a old part of a spare pole, Spinnaker pole, and we just jury rigged. As it turned out, we were about as far away from land as you can get on the planet. So, and then we ended up the next 9 days sailing under jury rig down to the Magellan Straits, just north of the Horn, so which is the inland waterway route inside Tierra del Fuego. So it was, an experience I wouldn't want to repeat.
Ian Walker on Green Dragon is hoping his foray into the south will see them accelerate towards Cape Horn ahead of those in the north. It could be a risky decision.
A bit of a scare in the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. Damo was steering and Animal came flying down the hatch and asked me to switch the radar on. He thought he'd seen something. Objects in the dark. And normally he does see things, but actually last night there was actually something there. So we saw 3 quite big icebergs. Well, small icebergs, but they were a lot bigger than us. Fellas, where's the iceberg? Over here! This is our 4th iceberg. We got a little growler here, just to leeward, about 100 metres to leeward.
That little one there is enough to sink us. Never mind the big one.
Ericsson 3 continues to set the pace towards Rio. They're 240 miles ahead of their sister ship and overall race leader, Ericsson 4.
It's wet.
But the leg 5 finish line is more than 4,000 miles in the distance. It appears that Magnus Olsen and Axel Magdal have pulled off a masterstroke. But can they hold off those chasing them and be the first to reach the next scoring waypoint at Cape Horn at the foot of South America?